I feel no need to kiss the ring. I have no fear of Trump's retribution. I'm not looking for anything from him. My own political future is of zero concern.
Several months later.
So I will be voting for Trump.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, the mainstream liberal media is fuming because Haley is back in the news, but not for the reasons that they were hoping for, okay? They were hoping that Nikki Haley comes out here and at the very least says she's not going to vote for Trump, and at best for them, say that, hey, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden because democracy is at stake, right? This is what they were hoping for. Unfortunately, that's not what they got, okay? Because Nimrata has come out here and kissed the ring. She's bent the knee to Trump by basically saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to vote for Trump. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play this clip of Nikki Haley being asked this question about the presidential election and her response, in which, again, she confirms that she will be voting for Trump.
You opened with some comments on the administration and the Democratic Party. You then talked a little bit about some of the shortcomings or worries you have about the Republican Party. And I couldn't help but think of two names when I heard you deliver that speech, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So on these issues, these national security critical issues that you've described today, who do you think would do a better job in the White House, Joe Biden or Donald Trump?
Now, again, this question is an interesting question because we know how Nikki Haley feels about national security. She doesn't think about our national security issue from an America First perspective, in the sense that the first thing that should come out of her mouth is about the border, right? When we talk about national security, because we're currently being invaded at our southern border. In fact, we should probably look at our northern border as well, too, if we're smart. But again, when you think about it from a national security standpoint, this is my main issue with Nikki Haley. It seems as if she's more worried about other people's borders rather than our border, okay? She, like a lot of Republicans, give lip service to the southern border and the problem there, but they actually don't want to do anything about it. They seem more concerned about actually trying to do things about what's going on overseas, namely when it comes to Israel. So let's listen to Nikki Haley's response here.
As a voter, I put my priorities on a president who's going to have the backs of our allies.
Ding, 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 ding. The first thing that comes out of her mouth, I put my priority on a president that is going to send money overseas, right? This is what she's saying, right? That's what she's saying. Again, this is my biggest issue with Nikki Haley. This is my biggest issue. In fact, I'm going to save this screenshot because this is a great screenshot for the thumbnail.
And hold our enemies to account. Who would secure the border, no more excuses.
Yes, the border comes second after sending money overseas, right? Again, this is the America last mentality of the neocons.
A president who would support capitalism and freedom. A president who understands we need less debt, not more debt. Trump has not been perfect on these policies. I've made that clear many, many times.
And I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be much better, right? Because again, given the track record of the Republican Party before Trump, it's not like these people, again, the neocons who spent trillions of dollars in unnecessary wars overseas, they wouldn't do a damn thing about the debt, okay? So I love how Nikki Haley always wants to talk about the debt. We need to do something about the debt. I was an accountant. We need to do something. Okay, I'm not hearing from your policy proposals and your policy agenda anything that actually really is going to do something about the debt, because if you really want to do something about it, if you want to reduce the deficit, hey, a lot of the money that we spend is on foreign wars, right? Which, again, we know that Nikki Haley has no problem spending taxpayer dollars to fight. And this is what pissed me off about a lot of these people who want to virtue signal about the debt and the border, right? Especially Republicans. It's like, okay, I hear you talking tough on the border. Okay, I hear you talking tough when it comes to the debt. But when it comes time to actually do something about it, you don't. In fact, when Trump was in office and he actually really did try to secure the border in the sense that he tried to build a wall, the Republicans were some of the main people that were in opposition to him doing it, right? But now they want to come out here and talk about how they want to secure the border so much. But when Trump was in office and they had an opportunity to do so, that probably could have prevented all of the things that we see happening right now with Biden, they decided not to do it. So again, I'm sick and tired of the virtue signaling when it comes to the debt and to the border, and I want Republicans that are actually willing to take action. And I've not heard one policy proposal from Nikki Haley that suggests that if she was president, she would actually do anything about the debt. If anything, she would explode the debt with, again, more wars and foreign aid spending.
But Biden has been a catastrophe. So I will be voting for Trump. Having said that, I stand by what I said in my suspension speech. Trump would be smart to reach out to the millions of people who voted for me and continue to support me and not assume that they're just going to be with him. And I genuinely hope he does that.
Yeah, so again, the reason why this is a big deal is because I guess there is an argument to be made that when it comes to celebrity endorsements, they really don't matter that much, right? But when it comes to somebody like a Nikki Haley, who, again, does have a significant amount of people in this country that support her no matter what, you're seeing these people show up to vote in the GOP primary. Again, a lot of these people are Democrats. They're people that are going to vote for Biden. Okay, they're Biden supporters who don't like Biden, but they've switched over to the Never Trump side, right? So Nikki Haley is their candidate of choice. They were Never Trumpers from the get-go, so I don't think that Trump really had a chance of getting those votes. But then you also have some that legitimately believe that, hey, Nikki Haley is a better choice than Trump, or you have some that vote for Nikki Haley, but they're going to vote for Trump in a general election if it's between Trump and Biden. However, it's a large enough group of people that, yes, the Republican Party, Trump should definitely be concerned about those voters and getting them on board with voting for him, okay, instead of sitting out, because these people probably likely would vote for Trump over Biden, and he should definitely try to get as many votes as he can get. And again, this is why the mainstream liberal media, this is why they're upset. That's why they're fuming, okay? Because Nikki Haley coming out and saying that she's going to vote for Joe Biden, even though it's not an endorsement, is kind of the line of thinking that hopefully most of her voters go along with, which is, well, Trump is the lesser of two evils, okay? And again, this is why you have fake Republicans like Michael Steele upset, right? He says, stop the BS. Nikki Haley, you could have said this on the day you suspended your campaign. Continue to support you. The people who voted for you will not be voting for Trump. That was the point. I wish I could say I'm disappointed. I am not even surprised. Yeah. Again, Nikki Haley was a darling of MSNBC and CNN when she was a useful tool against Trump. Now that she's come out and said she's going to vote for Trump, the gloves are off and they're treating her like basically all the other Republicans that they really don't like. They just pretended to like her because, again, she was a useful tool against Trump.
Quickly, someone who served as ambassador to the United Nations, still pulling in pretty large numbers, a vote 2 months after quitting the race. Someone who ran against Donald Trump as too old and unfit to serve today said he has her vote. Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley in 2015 said, quote, Donald Trump is everything I taught my children not to do in kindergarten. I taught my little ones, you don't lie and make things up. She ended up serving in his administration.
Who are these people?
On January 6th, she called it an ugly day. She then went and said a couple months later that she wouldn't run against him for president. She ended up running for president. And then we saw Nikki Haley, while her husband was deployed to Africa with the U.S. Armed Services, mocked by Donald Trump for being away. And it was the words of Nikki Haley that were very explicit about Donald Trump. Said, in part, that they were disgusting, awful, unhinged, and said that somebody that makes comments like that doesn't deserve to be commander-in-chief. Her own husband got on social media and fired back and said the difference between humans and animals would never allow the dumbest ones to lead the pack. His allies pushed extramarital affair rumors about her. This is somebody who suggested that she may not even be eligible to run for president because her parents are immigrants. And today, her announcing that she's going to vote for Donald Trump is just, I think, another chapter in something that we've already lived out with the likes of Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio 8 years ago. She did raise her hand in that Republican debate and said that she would vote for a convicted felon if Donald Trump was found guilty. And today is evidence that she's sticking to her word.
We need shrinks and cult experts to explain this, because with what you're reporting, it doesn't make a lick of sense to me, and it's so recent. I mean, J.D. Vance in 2015 said something similar, but for her and her husband to both been feuding publicly with him just days and weeks before endorsing him is inexplicable to me at a human level.
I think it's power. And I think in American politics, access to power in a party that you identify with is a future. And I think that we have a great share of individuals that have proved this time and again that staying closely associated to Donald Trump is a guarantee that you are relevant within politics if you choose to remain in politics.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Don Hilliard wearing many hats for us this week.
I mean, I just think this really puts on full display for the American people how spineless the Republican Party is today, how they've completely rolled over and are now behind and backing Donald Trump, when all of these, from Sununu to Nikki Haley, have had great, massive objections about Donald Trump, from the $8 trillion he's added to the debt, to the chaos, as she would describe it, that he perpetuated as president, from domestic policy to foreign policy. Now, all of a sudden, we just delete on that. We hit delete on that. She expects the American people to forget that she actually said that. I think that her voters aren't to your point earlier, those aren't her voters. I think those voters are in pure objection to where the Republican Party is today. They're disgusted by Donald Trump. They wanted an alternative. She represented that alternative. Now that she's out of it, I think those folks don't go back to the Republican Party.
So just Alyssa Farah Griffin, Trump's former communications director, who is no longer a fan of Donald Trump, said in response to Nikki Haley saying she's going to vote for Trump, quote, "Disappointing but not surprising. I lost all faith in politicians a long time ago. Trump is a threat to democracy and has no business being near the White House." So there are some
within the Republican Party that have lost faith in their own leaders.
Right.
Yeah, so at this point, I think that Alyssa Farah Griffin is an NPC, right? She has to be, because she says the same thing over and over and over again. Trump is a threat to democracy. Trump is a threat to democracy. The easiest way to tell if somebody's an NPC is if they say that, well, Trump is a threat to democracy. If they say that, NPC. You should not listen to these people, okay? They are not credible. They're not critical thinkers, and they're just not serious, right? They're uneducated. They're ignorant. That's what they are, right? But again, I find it fascinating how these people seem to be so surprised that Nikki Haley bended the knee to Trump. Well, you should be surprised because Kamala Harris bent the knee to Joe Biden. This woman went on stage during the Democrat primary and basically called Joe Biden a racist, okay? Said he was a segregationist that was against busing, and it personally impacted her. She also claimed that she believed Joe Biden's accusers. So not only did Kamala Harris bend the knee, I mean, typically she bends both knees, but I'm just saying, she bent the knee to Joe Biden by getting behind him, okay, in his presidential campaign, despite heavily implying that he's a racist and saying that she believes his Me Too allegations, right? She also decided to become his vice president, right? So again, I want you guys to understand, Kamala Harris, as a so-called black woman, decided to become vice president to a guy who she believes committed SA against women, and also somebody that she heavily implied is a racist, right? But yeah, these people want to act shocked and surprised. Oh, the Republican Party has no backbone, right? Or they're spineless, which, I mean, they are spineless when it comes to certain issues. But when it comes to this right here, this is just politics, right? Nikki Haley is just, once again, kind of showing us that, you know, hey, she's just a swamp creature in the sense that she's just kind of playing politics like everybody else, okay? At the end of the day, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you're going to fall in line with the party leader. You're going to fall in line with the agenda of the party, because that's how party politics works, okay? And what happens during the primary, when you're competing against each other in order to try to become president of the United States, okay, the most powerful position in the world, you could argue, yeah, I mean, there are going to be moments where you're going to have gloves off and mean things are going to be said to each other. Very personal attacks will be levied because that is the nature of politics, right? Everybody in politics is a narcissist, okay? This is why, I'm not sure if I would ever get involved in politics because I'm just not that much of a narcissist. I really don't like talking about myself, right? That is probably one of the most uncomfortable things for me is to sit around and to talk about myself, okay? I would much rather learn about other people, okay, and other individuals and listen to them rather than for me to talk to them about me, right? I don't like talking about myself like that, okay? So, these individuals who are in politics, you gotta love talking about yourself. You have to think that, you are, God's gift to earth, okay, in order to make it in that business, right? So, again, with that being said, Nikki Haley brought it upon herself because she promised that she was not going to run against Trump, okay? She said, listen, if Trump runs, I'm not going to run. She said this after January 6th. She said this after all these things about Trump came out after the election, all these things. She claimed that, hey, I'm not going to run. And then she broke her promise. So I don't blame Trump for going hard against Nikki Haley. I don't blame him for having no mercy for her when it comes to the attacks because, quite honestly, she deserves it because she's shown that her word doesn't really mean anything. She's not a very loyal person. And every election season, every primary season, you have these intra-party fights and these conflicts where it makes you believe that, hey, these people, they're going to be mortal enemies, okay, because of things they're saying to each other. You guys remember what Trump and Ted Cruz were saying to each other during the 2015-2016 Republican primary season? Yeah, it wasn't nice things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what happens is that you got to bend the knee. You got to get behind whoever the eventual, nominee or leader of the party will be. And Nikki Haley is doing that because if she doesn't do that, then her future is over, right? As a politician in the GOP, who knows? Maybe she has a future with the Democrats, right? Or no labels, okay? But if she really wants a future with the GOP, I personally think that she has to go further than this. It's a good step that she came out and said that she's going to vote for Trump because I hope that her supporters think the same way that she thinks on this issue that, hey, I might not like Trump, but he's better than Joe Biden and I got to go with the lesser of two evils. I'm fine with that. Okay. I hope that her supporters are influenced by that. But I don't think that's enough. I think that she needs to go a step further and to campaign on behalf of Trump, just like everybody else that lost the primary to Trump is doing right now. Because it shows that, hey, I'm willing to put the country, okay, over my own personal feelings. This is not even about the party. This is about the country, okay? If Nikki Haley really cares about this country, then she would swallow her pride, get on the campaign trail, and try to help Trump win. And if she does that, maybe she can redeem herself. Who knows? Maybe people might be open to her being VP, even though that might not never happen. I'm just saying that if she wants to be next in line, if she wants to be able to run again in 2027, 2028, and have a chance within a Republican primary, yeah, you're going to have to bend the knee. You're going to have to get out there and really show that, hey, I'm going to put the country first. I'm going to put my own personal feelings aside. And, we got to do what we got to do to get Republicans and Trump elected. We got to get Biden up out of there. So, again, this is a good step in the right direction. I'm not trying to bag on Nikki Haley too much because the mainstream media will be doing that over the next few days. I know the cackling hands are going to lose their minds over this. And also on top of that, I want Nikki Haley supporters to vote for Trump. So I'm not going to trash her supporters or anything like that. I understand where they're coming from. I just hope that they make the same calculation that Nikki Haley is making here about what's best for the country, putting your personal feelings aside and saying, I got to do what's best for the country. And that is to vote for Trump. It's not to sit out. Okay, I'm fine with the leftists sitting out, right? The leftists can sit out, but the so-called never Trumpers, the people that's on the fence that are Republicans, they're like, I don't like, Orange Man's attitude. And, I do like his economy. I like his policies, but it's just his mean tweets. The mean words that he says, I can't stand it. He's dividing our country. He's tearing our country apart. Listen, you got to put all that stuff aside, right? You got to put all that stuff aside and say, you know what? I'm going to vote. I'm going to do what I got to do what's best for the country. Again, I don't mind if the leftists sit out. They can sit it out. They weren't going to vote for Trump regardless, right? But the people who are potential Trump voters, you got to go out there and vote. put your feelings aside like Nikki Haley is doing and do what you got to do for the best of the country. So I hope that's what happens. I think that Nikki Haley should go further than this, but this is a good step in the right direction. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.